back with the third and final part with me and Tim. We talked about, a few weeks ago, we talked about a couple of the scientists, very well respected in their field scientists, who have been backing this whole UFO experience, this whole UFO phenomenon. Now, unfortunately, there's a couple of names I want to talk about that have been debunking this, and I don't understand why people listen to them. Now, I want to start with the more popular name, because more people know this individual, and I already started ragging on him last episode anyway. So, Bill Nye, the honorary science guy. And I'm always going to address him like that ever since I found out that his PhD is an honorary PhD in the category of science. Physics, astronomy, biology. No, science. That's because the guy fixed a few carburetors in his life.
Right.
Mr. Bill Nye seems to think he knows better than individuals that have doctoral degrees in astronomy and space-based sciences. I honestly think the best thing this guy ever did was Speedwalker. Yeah. Back in his early days of his career, he was on a show called Exit 57 on Comedy Central. It was their own little variety show. And one of the regular comedy characters he did was Speedwalker. That's all I do. I speedwalk everywhere because speedwalking is healthy.
I didn't know this, and if I had any respect for the guy, it's completely gone now. But yeah, I didn't anyway, so that doesn't matter.
But, I mean, he's regularly asked to go on CNN and other shows to debunk UFOs. And he's, like I said last episode, his main thing is always, it's just, one branch of the government and military not talking to the other, but they know what's going on. No. Did he not watch the Congress hearings?
It wouldn't matter if he did. He'd say the same thing anyway.
But I do honestly feel that the conspiracy in all this is that I think that they've been paid debunkers by the government for decades. There's a guy, and so many people cast doubt on the honesty of this guy. I think you've seen him because you watched the movie Unacknowledged. That guy, Doty, allegedly from the CIA, a little fat-faced guy, balding with glasses, and he talked about how they would literally pay off tons of money to people in the media and people in colleges to be debunkers. I honestly believe that whether he's specifically telling the truth or not, that was happening. And I think
that it happens all the time for different reasons, not just when it comes to this. That's general practice. But.
So now let's kind of, instead of attacking for a moment, let's put ourselves in the position of some of these more famous debunkers like Bill Nye, right? So if this theory is correct, and I'm not saying that it is, this is all if it's correct, he's been taking money from the government to go on CNN and any show that'll have him to say UFOs are not real, aliens aren't real, blah, 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 blah. And he's been happy with this. I believe he probably is either on the fence or doesn't believe himself. But now him and the others, aren't they being thrown under the bus? If the government is now coming forward and saying this is all real, Congress, Pentagon, even non-government corporate entities like NASA are all coming forward and saying, yes, there's something true enough about this that we need to spend time and money and investigate it. These are the same people that allegedly, if the theory is correct, have paid off Bill Nye and the others to say no. This is all bullshit. So aren't they, in a sense, being thrown under the bus now?
That's possible. And I also think that there's different organizations within our government that have different opinions on the matter. And that just may be a symptom of that internal conflict.
Well, a good example, I think, of that.
People are...
No, go ahead.
Yeah. I was just going to say, I think that, some people are pushing one way and some people are pushing the other. And I think there's probably an element that has an interest in just the chaos of it, in the disagreement.
And could that element be the CIA? Because if you look over the years at presidents and other politicians that have literally put in requests to the CIA for information on UFOs have been continually stonewalled.
Right.
And now the CIA has been part of the limited amount, but they've been part of the new information dump all of a sudden. And you look at Vannevar Bush, the grandfather of W, the father of George, right, was head of the CIA when Roswell happened.
Yes.
He knew about everything from the beginning. Nobody in this country knows more about UFOs than I think George. I don't think W knows a lot about it. I don't think the grandson. But come on, his son was head of the CIA after him. And now all of a sudden, after decades of them saying, no, the CIA doesn't do anything about UFOs. Now we get like a medical information dump that they've been studying the medical effects of UFOs on people for decades. Whoa.
Right.
And yet, the debunkers are now arguing with the CIA, with NASA, with Navy intelligence, Air Force intelligence, the Congress itself. Now they're arguing that all these sources are wrong, that they know better. So doesn't that make them the new conspiracy theorists?
I'd go with that.
I mean, for years, you and me and Tom and others have, one of the reasons we've been told that we're crazy in believing all this is because the government doesn't, the military doesn't. For years, we've been told.
Right.
And they, from themselves, they've even said, no, there's nothing to this.
Right. If it was there, the government couldn't hide it. Well.
You know how tired I am of that whole, secrets can't be kept thing. Did none of these debunkers ever hear of the Manhattan Project?
Exactly.
Secrets can be kept. Especially if you honestly believe you and your entire family will be taken out to the desert and never freaking seen again.
Right.
You don't have to worry about, maybe they'll sue me or something. No, then you might snitch. But if you 100% with your heart believe you, your wife, your children, your dogs, your siblings, your parents, if they're still alive, will be rounded up, taken out to the Nevada desert, and just never seen again, and that they can do this 100%. That is a pretty damn good reason to keep your mouth shut. But let's take it a step further. If this is really true about the alien aspect of this, how do we know they are not imposing this secrecy somehow, either because of a damn fear of an actual alien being right in front of you scaring the living crap out of you, or the simple fact that maybe some of the stories are true. Maybe they can manipulate our minds to some degree. They seem to make people forget about most abductions. So it'd be very easy, if this is true, for them to make enough key people forget the reason why something's done. They just do it because that's their job.
Right.
I mean, you look at...
Most of society operates under that premise, right?
Nobody wants to be responsible for anything. Just do what I'm told to do.
Right.
I don't have to look anything up. Why do I got to spend my time and energy to research something that really, honestly, doesn't matter to me? He or she told me to do it. They're above me. I'm just going to freaking do it.
Right.
That's life. We turn a blind eye to everything. We turn the other cheek to everything. We refuse to acknowledge what's going on around us if it's going to negatively impact our own little circle.
People that question anything are a pain in the ass. I know, because I'm a pain in the ass.
But you question things with an open mind. I mean, let's take a look at the other great debunker who I can't stand. Mr., and I like to point out these guys are Mr., they're not doctor at all in any way, shape, or form. Mr. Michael Shermer. Now, this guy, head of Skeptic Magazine, I've been watching so many damn decades of my life. You know when Mo is standing in front of Larry and Curly, and he has that one slap where he hits both of them at the same time? I just want to clone him so I can do that.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Michael Shermer has a master's in psychology. That's as far as his intellectual career goes. And he thinks that having a master's in psychology makes him a master to talk on all these subjects that have to do with UFO sightings, because he believes that this is all a matter of perception. And perception falls under the science of psychology. But That's bullshit. Just because he understands how the human mind, or he thinks he understands how the human mind perceives and remembers things, does not mean he has an inkling of understanding about astronomy or any of the astrophysics or astrosciences.
Right,
Now,
there's a difference between theory and actual hard science.
yes, and he is what they call it. He's not a hard science. He's a soft science. He's a social science.
Right.
And one of the reasons for that is psychology isn't like in mathematics or physics. You will get the same result every single time doing the same exact thing. But in psychology, you're going to get a different damn result from every person, no matter how you're doing the same thing over and over again.
Right.
There's no hard science belief to anything he does. But now, delving into his own Wikipedia page, and I want to put that out as a disclaimer. I am not making anything up here. I am not casting any stones in any directions. I am not making any claims. This is on his own Wikipedia page. So if anything is wrong with it, he needs to go in and fix it. He brags about being an adjunct professor at Chapman University. Okay, I'm an idiot. I didn't know what an adjunct professor is. It sounded impressive. I looked it up. It means he's part-time. He's not even on staff. I mean, they don't even respect the guy enough to give him a full-time job there.
Right.
Also, delving into his Wikipedia page, it gets really interesting. I'm not going to get into this because it may bring to some trouble, but again, it's on his Wikipedia page, so anyone watching this, please go forward on your own to get more information on this. But he's had several sexual harassment charges brought up against him over the years from several different women. Right there, any individual I hear about that, I'm sorry, but automatic sus. Something's a little sus. Until I get more information on what's going on, anytime I hear a situation like this, that's my default attitude.
Right.
But that's all I'm mentioning. It's on his Wikipedia page. Anyone watching this video, look up on your own. But another thing that I wanted to point out, and again, it's on his own page, is him talking about why he became a debunker. So he started out his life as a devout Christian. I'm not sure which denomination. I'm sorry, I don't know. But he started himself out as a devout Christian. Flash forward, he finds himself in college. Finds a girlfriend, has himself a nice little sexual partner in his life. Everything is happy. Then his sexual partner gets into a car accident, and she's paralyzed from the waist down. So as a religious man, he prays to God. He prays to God to give her a miracle because, as is written on the Wikipedia page, in his own words, in his own stories, look it up on other pages, other sites, he felt that nobody else was worthy of a miracle more than her. He honestly thought that his sexual partner, who was paralyzed from the waist down now, was more worthy than everyone or anyone else in the world to get a miracle. And then nothing happened. She didn't get a miracle. So therefore, he decided he's not going to believe in anything at all anymore. Does that sound like a rational man or that of a petulant child?
It sounds more like a 2-year-old.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's not good. So that doesn't work for me now. So nothing is real and I'm going to become a psychologist. So people have to respect me. I'm a scientist. And I'm going to become a lecturer. And I'm going to start a skeptic magazine to tell everyone they're stupid for believing in these things. And that's what he's built his life on. So basically what we're getting at is his life was shattered because of this accident to the point where he gave up religion. That is a life-shattering thing to happen. But now his life is getting shattered again, whether he wants to admit it or not, because now everything he's been saying that isn't real about UFOs and aliens, every leading expert, including Air Force intelligence, Navy intelligence, NASA, Pentagon, CIA, Congress, is all literally telling him to his face, no, actually, you're wrong. This is real. UFOs are real physical objects, and there are aliens.
Right. All the people he leaned on to debunk stuff are now,
again, like I said,
turning it around.
Like I said with Bill Nye, the honorary science guy, he's being thrown under the bus by the people that were backing him.
Right.
So, but at least Bill Nye, as far as I know, this is the only earth-shattering thing that's happening to him now. But But old Mickey Shermer over there, this is the second life-altering information he's ever gotten. How can he look himself in the mirror? How can either of them look themselves in the mirror? Now, on top of that, there's an aspect of debunking that nobody talks about, Tim. Because of these individuals, their followers and others like them that have spent their lives debunking, whether they're no-name schmucks or whether they're scientists or whether they're military personnel, they have literally robbed society of 70 years of research. We could have been 70 years more intellectually evolved and knowledgeable on what the hell is going on. Which, if you think about it, you think about how things advance in 70 years, there's a chance, I honestly believe, this could have been solved.
Right. And think of the computer you had 7 years ago, not even 70.
Think about the change in that. And on the grand scale we're talking about here, 7 decades of lost research because of these schmucks should be considered a crime against humanity.
Well, I think someone has that research. We don't. I think more the point.
If they're going to be drip feeding us this stuff in order to get us ready for it, I can understand the whole holding back. Because I do agree with the Brookings report as far as back then in 1960, if they told the average person that there were aliens, we can't stop them, good luck, there would be rioting in the streets. People would not be able to handle it. But nowadays it's different. There's not going to be as much of that outside of religious communities.
Right.
In fact, I already started seeing reports online about religious leaders and theologians telling their congregation that aliens are real, but they are not extraterrestrial beings like the government believes. They're literally been telling their congregations that they are demons, and that the reason the Bible, Old or New Testament, does not mention aliens is because it uses the word demons. This is a problem. We don't need more hillbillies shooting at them.
Right.
And they're going to believe anything these preachers tell them. At least on the other hand, the Vatican has come forward and said that it is in parameters of the work of God for there to be aliens on other planets. The Roman Catholics are setting themselves up that this is cool. How many of them are going to take it as cool, I don't know. But at least the Vatican City, the Pope, has started setting this up. But everyone else, these small little theologian guys, they're starting to go batshit crazy with telling people that aliens equal demons.
I do find it interesting that the Catholic Church has a telescope nicknamed Satan.
Is that the name for it? I didn't know that.
They have it's like an acronym, but it's nicknamed Satan.
Well, they also apparently have a visual time machine. You heard about that?
No, I didn't know that.
Oh, I forgot the name of it. But yeah, there's a conspiracy theory that some Roman scientists years ago invented a time machine, but it doesn't transport you through time. It kind of opens up a window so you can see through time. And that they use this to learn about the secret life of Jesus. Which is funny because Jesus isn't who they think he was. The Jesus story is a retelling of a story that's at least 1,000 years older than the time period that Jesus was allegedly walking around in. He is just at that time period that the early Jews and the early Gnostic Christians were writing these stories. I mean, he was their that was their go-to thing. So they couldn't, if they had used that time viewing machine to actually view the life of Christ, then they would probably know that there was no Christ, Jesus, walking around the time period where we believe the story took place. That it's actually, they would have to go back and see the story of Mithra and see all these other stories that culminated.
There's literally like two dozen scenarios with the same story,
Yeah. So how far back did they actually have to go? But I do absolutely love the idea of a time window. I hate the idea of time travel, but I love the idea of a time window.
That is interesting.
But since history is written by the winners, not by the truth seekers, something like that would be destroyed, or kept for the 1% of the 1%er would keep it.
Right.
There's no way a machine like that would be allowed to exist in human society.
Yeah, I agree.
Too much of what people believe in nowadays is built on falsehoods from centuries ago.
Right, you can't have actual real fact checkers.
No.
I'm not talking about the Facebook idiots. I'm talking about actual fact checkers that could open a window and go, yeah, that's not quite how that happened.
No, society hates real fact checkers.
You can't have that.
No, because that ruins a lot of long-standing beliefs. And you can't do that to a person because we don't have a violin small enough to play.
Right.
I thought it was funny that people want to detract from someone like Dr. Travis because he does a reality show, but yet Bill Nye does a show for children. He does children's science shows.
Right.
So why is it bad to be on a reality TV show as far as your credentials go in scientific field, but it's okay that you're Professor Proton?
Right. Because it's not approved groupthink. And you can't have anyone thinking outside the box.
No, and it's scary too because that box is changing right now.
Right.
Whether it's the false flag or whether it's real aliens, either way it's changing.
Right.
And between the scientists that are backing this, between the tech that we're seeing, and now with today's conversation about the debunkers, this is an absolutely crazy time to live in.
It is a little bit knucking futs.
Knucking futs. That's a great way to put it. And a safe way to put it for YouTube. But the science is going to change the world. Whether it's going to make it more Blade Runner or more Star Trek, I think is dependent on the reality of a false flag or real aliens.
Or somewhere in between.
I mean, yeah, there could very well be a mixture of the two. I mean, maybe this is the natural disaster the aliens are using to set us back so that they can just restart again.
Right.
There was an interesting report just about a year ago or so, a scientific report about whether we would even be able to detect civilizations that are more than like 100,000 years old. And no, there's no way. When you go a certain point back in the fossil record, it is literally impossible because of basically the tectonic plate movements. Is societies will get pushed under the plate and take a couple of billion years to come back around again.
Yeah, it's a like a geographical bean grinder.
Yeah. Yes, that's exactly what life on this rock in the long term, that's exactly what it is. And I often thought, even long before this all came to a head, I thought to myself, what if, and I was thinking about the Greys, I was like, what if the aliens are our ancestors? The ancestors of human beings that were around during the time periods that we call Atlantis, or Mu, Lemuria. And there was a great crisis, but their technology was a high enough level that as a bulk, as a society, they were able to leave the planet in order to save themselves. And that they have continued to evolve over these hundreds of thousands of years, basically in a zero-G environment, which is what causes so many of the physical changes in them. And that they keep coming back from time to time because it is a scientific study. I was always questioning, why do they keep taking our DNA? Why do they keep taking samples from us for decades? Don't they have everything they need? But what if it's a growing sample? They are continually sampling the growth of the distance between our evolution, their descendants, and their evolution, our ancestors, who are now in space.
Right.
I still kind of like
I've
that
often
theory.
thought about that possibility, yeah.
And if that's the case, who knows how many of these that are really here right now are pre-civilizations? Possibly, I was thinking... Now, I know there's stories that there are reptilians that are native to Earth, that have lived underground. But there's also reptilian aliens that have been reported. And I wonder if those reptilian aliens were the ancestors of the reptilian race that stayed here. Because you don't see a lot of diversity in aliens when you think about it.
True.
All the lizard-looking aliens look like the same kind of lizard person. All the insect aliens look kind of like the same insects. All the grays, well, you have the other race of tall grays, but all the tall grays and all the short grays look identical to every other tall and every other short gray. There's no blue gray alien. There's no white or black gray alien. The only place you see any kind of diversity is with the tall Nordics.
Right.
But
I was just going to bring them up.
But they still all look blonde, blue-eyed Caucasian, even though they look different like you and me look different.
Right.
But there's still no real diversity among them. Why?
Right. But they don't all look like carbon copies of the other one.
No, not like...
just be our perception. But
not like... Well, I mean, you think every bee looks alike. You think, every
right. That's why I said perception.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But to them, they don't look alike.
Right.
Maybe that has something to do with the technology.
Maybe.
Think about how much damage we know that space causes the human body. Or any biological existence that we've tested.
Right. Zero gravity doesn't take a whole lot of time to really alter your physics.
No, look at the twins. They've counted so many cellular and genetic differences between the two of them already from that one experiment. So, and I brought this up with Tom. What do you think of the idea that they're only projecting their consciousness somehow? That what we're seeing, these grays, these Nordics, these insect reptilians and the rest of them, that these are somehow biological robots that they grow and that they then project a consciousness into.
Sure, that's possible.
Kind of like, even though I hate the movie, kind of like Avatar.
Right.
I mean, it would answer a lot of questions for a biological form to be able to, transverse space, outside of the answer being wormholes. So, wormhole technology. We were talking about your technology last episode. We got to talk about how they apparently open up wormholes.
Yeah, we'll revisit that. That's a whole other...
We'll get a chance to revisit that when we do something on Skinwalker Ranch, because some of the military whistleblowers that worked with Bigelow's team have literally come forward and said that they witnessed with their own eyes portals opening up. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, throughout the ranch, not just one spot.
Yeah, we definitely got to do a Skinwalker Ranch episode.
Yeah.
And also, we're next month we'll talk about some ghost stuff, some cryptid stuff. I think that'll be fitting for the month of October.
Yeah, for the fall. Yeah, October, Halloween. Yeah.
Excellent.
That'd be great.
And also, when we revisit UFOs, we didn't get a chance to in any of these 3 episodes. It's got too heavy. But I want to talk about the astronauts that have come forward and said that they believe in certain things and why they said they believe in these things.
Yeah. So there's a lot there to unpack.
Yeah, there is. That's a whole episode by itself. I shouldn't even have thought that it would have been part of this episode. But that's it. We're doing good on time here. We're just hitting the 30-minute mark. So we'll call it right now. And I don't know what's coming up next. Another Tim, another Tom, maybe a solo one again. We'll see. But either way, there will be an episode next week. And until then, we want you all to keep your lives absolutely awesome.